Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 9 Swedish premium tank destroyer, the Gungnir. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Gungnir, it is the LAT Stridsford 120 Tier 9 premium from PC that's a tank destroyer. And as a sneaky sniper tank destroyer, it's pretty damn good. Do I like this tank? No. I don't like it whatsoever, but that's because it's really not my playstyle. It's one of those tanks that is the true defensive tank. You need to go to a snipey location and then just sit and wait for people to spot for you or for the enemy team to just cross into your gun line, and that's about all you can do because it can be pretty frustrating to play, pretty awkward because it is a siege mode tank. How you get this thing to work is using the siege mode through the pressing left on the D-pad, and it's one of those tanks that will be Marmite. You'll either love the kind of gameplay that it is, or you'll hate it. And for me, I just strongly dislike these tanks, generally the Swedish tanks, and I don't play them whatsoever, which is why I've never done the line, because I just know that I don't enjoy it after playing the Stark S1, right, or the SDRV S1. But yeah, I know they're not for me. I don't like them, personally. I didn't enjoy playing this thing one iota, but as a tank destroyer, as that sneaky sniper, it is very good at what it does because the gun is fantastic, the damage is nice at 420, the DPM's good, and you've got absolutely immense camo, which means you are pretty damn difficult to find. But there's a lot of maps where you really struggle to find your place and what you're actually going to do because you get spotted really easily. You'll get one shot off and then you'll get found, and everyone insta-snaps you every time. You do have 40mm of armour on this upper plate though, which means you are an auto ricochet for 120mm caliber guns and lower, but 121mm caliber guns will go through you, and anyone that spams heat automatically pens you everywhere. So it's something to be careful of. So this is one of those tanks that you might enjoy, you also might not. It's not my cup of tea whatsoever, but there we go. And as you can see, it's also pretty damn expensive at 11,500 at 20%, 14,300 at base price. But you'll also be able to get 35% discount on this, so it would get a little bit lower than even that. But to be honest, you're paying a lot of gold for something that you can get the experience of by just going into the tech tree and getting the STRV 1030, which basically does the same job, but for free by grinding, right? So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. Is essentially, you'll love or you'll hate it, but to be fair, you could just go get it from the tech tree quite easily in the STRV 1030 for free by grinding. And you'll have the exact same experience. Or you can get the STRV 103B, which just does everything that this tank does, but way better at tier 10 instead, right? But that's my 2 cents anyway. I dislike the vehicle, but that's just because I don't like the way it plays. I find it incredibly boring, to be perfectly honest. But yeah. So, let's get into the statistics of the Gungnir. So, with the statistics, as you can see, we've got a 50 kilometer an hour top speed, with a 45 km an hour reverse speed, 340 horsepower engine, which is 17 horsepower per ton ratio, with a 10% internal fire chance. So you're on the low end of fire chances, which means that it doesn't get set on fire that often, realistically. And with a 17 horsepower per ton ratio, you do get up to 50 km an hour. Sometimes, even though 50 is not too bad, sometimes 50 does feel a little bit too slow for this kind of tank. But on the whole, it's not too bad, and 45 km an hour reverse speed is pretty nice for when you've popped out the siege mode by pressing left on the D-pad, and you can get yourself safe back out of dodge pretty quickly. You got 34 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which is a little bit low for this kind of tank, where you are wholly dependent on the hull rotation to get your gun on target. But it's not too slow. It's just one of those things that when I'm in that siege mode, I do feel that lethargy, essentially, in the tracks when I'm swiveling to try and get the gun on target. It might be something that you might want to make better. I don't, but it's something that you could definitely try to work on to get better and get up to about 37 degrees a second if you were to run clutch braking. Ground resistances do not hold the tank back whatsoever. 249 meters of steel concealment is absolutely fantastic, and you can get that down as low as about 170 or 166 meters of steel concealment, which is absolutely insane for World War II. It means you are incredibly difficult to find and root out. And 320 meters of on-the-move concealment, you'll get that really low by running silent driving as well. 380 meters of view range is actually average for a tier 8 medium tank. For a tier 9 tank destroyer, it's not too bad. You can get it up to a decent level anyway, at about 486 meters of view range, meaning you can spot for yourself at decent distances, and especially with having that amazing camo, it'll be very difficult for you to be spotted by the enemy while you farm them, while you've also spotted them, which is good for the Gungnir. So we're onto the bit that is different, that they just don't show in the game, which is a bit awkward, but we can see on the Tankopedia. So you've got a 0.67 accuracy during rotation, and a 7.56 accuracy during movement, with a 3-second aim time, and a 0.42 accuracy at 100 meters. That is absolutely atrocious, but it's also not true. Because, and the reason I say that, that is what the statistics for the tank are like outside the siege mode. When you press left on the D-pad, all those stats become absolutely fantastic. So let me just go and show you the Tankopedia for the Gungnir, because this is where they have the stats for it, but not in-game, which is always a bit weird to me, but there we go. So in the siege mode, we have 0.32 accuracy, so it gets really damn accurate in the siege mode. Your 0.51 accuracy during rotation, which is a lot better than 0.67, although 0.67 is really good. It's the accuracy during movement that's atrocious. 0.51 accuracy during rotation as well is pretty good. Then you've got 14 degrees of gun depression in the siege mode, 10 degrees outside of it, but you never really use that. You always use the 14 in the siege mode. And then you also have that 1.2 second aim time. 1.2 second aim time. Woo! That it aims in so quickly, which is why you don't really need to look at any gun stats for this vehicle when you are setting up for your crew. You can just set up to do other stuff. The other thing to note is when we went over the top speed, when you go into that siege mode, you only have a 10 km/h top speed and a 10 km/h reverse speed, so you are very, very slow to go forward and very, very slow to go back. So bear that in mind when you are in that siege mode, and it does take you 1.3 seconds to switch into that siege mode and out of it. But yeah, those are the little statistics, because sadly it doesn't actually tell you what your accuracy during movement is when you're in the siege mode on this. But note that it does get a hell of a lot better than 7.56 when you're in the siege mode. So yeah, because if it was 7.56 while you're in the siege mode, as soon as you move forward a little bit, your aim circle will be absolutely huge. And while it does get bigger, it's nowhere near 7.56 big. And then, even then, it still aims in at 1.2 seconds, which is incredibly fast. So yeah. But yeah, that's the statistics of it while it's actually in the siege mode. Let's get back to what's going off over here. So we've got 9.7 second reload, which is 2.6k DPM. I'm pretty sure you can get that up to about 3.4k, 3.5k DPM, which is really, really nice for a tier 9 tank destroyer in general. And for the sniper kind of one, it's pretty good because if things do cross your path, you can rack up damage pretty quickly. You've got 290 penetration on the standard APCR, which is phenomenal, especially for a tier 9 tank destroyer, with 330 penetration on the premium heat rounds and 60 millimeters of penetration on the HE. Now, the 330 heat rounds are also great. They butcher everything. You got 420 alpha on those rounds and 1,350 meters a second shot velocity on the standard APCR round, with 1,100 meters a second shot velocity on the premium and the HE. It's also above average for a heat round and a HE as well, which is pretty nice. I mean, you don't have to give too much lead with those, but you will notice a difference when you switch between the APCR and the heat rounds. But your penetration is pretty damn good on this vehicle for that as well, so you're never really struggling to pen anything in it. You do just butcher tanks. And as it is a tier 9 premium, you don't get any bonuses really whatsoever for this. So let's have a quick look at the modules. As you can see with the modules, that's where the engine is for the tank. So if you shoot it through that left-hand side, you're likely to damage its engine, possibly set it on fire as well, but most likely damage its engine, sorry. Same as shooting it in that back end. And that's where the ammo rack is. If you shoot it on that right-hand side in the back, you will damage its ammo rack quite easily. And that's where the crew sits in the Gungnir as well. 3-man crew. So be careful when you're playing this thing, that if you have your commander knocked out, it's likely he could be doing 2 roles at once. And in terms of the armour, like I say, it's got 40mm of armour. So what I'm going to do is, again, switch to Tanks GG, because it's the same armour model, so I can quickly show you the effective values and what I mean by auto ricochets. So this is with the Latstrix Forden's 120mm gun. And if it hits this upper plate section, it will auto ricochet its rounds, except for hitting this little bar here. So that's the nice thing for this vehicle, is that any 120mm caliber gun and below will ricochet off this upper plate. So if you can use it on a ridgeline and bait shots, you can bounce shots. But as soon as they have a 121mm caliber gun or higher, like most Soviet vehicles, they will just go straight through you with ease, or any of the tank destroyers in general. But also heat rounds. Because of normalization, the heat rounds don't care about your angles, because they'll pen up to 80 degrees of angled armor, I think it is. They don't care about, they really don't care about your armor. And heat rounds will just go through you every single time. So if you've got a 90mm gun or a 100mm gun or a 120mm gun and you fire heat as your premium round, you're best just to load heat and you'll go through it every time, as well as your 120mm AP round or APCR round is quite likely to just ricochet if you can't see this lower plate. But yeah, that's the armor profile for the Gungnir, and as you can see as well, it's overmatchable on the side, so if it gives you any little bit of side like that, you can track and pen this vehicle quite easily too. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on this vehicle? Well, I've put the crew in the Emil 2 just for now. So let's go put it back in the Gungnir. And I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Muffled Shot, Green Thumb, and Track Mechanic. Track Mechanic in case I get my tracks blown off, which is quite easy, by the way, because of that 20mm of armor. The tracks get blown off every single time a shell pretty much hits them. So be careful of that, and that's why I run Track Mechanic, because it's quite, I've had it happen a couple of times where my tractor got blown off, I've instantly repaired it with my repair kit, and then they got blown off straight away again. So it's nice to have that Track Mechanic to get the tracks back on quicker and get out of dodge and avoid taking a random shell. All the 4 of the camo perks, because we are making this thing's camo as filthy as possible, because the longer you stay unspotted, it's just the lifeblood of the tank. If you get spotted, you're dead. So getting unspotted and staying unspotted is what you want to be doing with all the camo perks. Like I say, if you feel like you don't need the Track Mechanic, you can drop that and run Clutch Braking instead, just to get up to that 36 or 37 degrees of track traverse, so it does be able to get its gun on target that little bit quicker, as that is what it is relying on. But it's down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the tank. This tank, genuinely, when it's in the siege mode, does not need any help with its gun. It's all about making that camo as good as it can be, because otherwise, yeah, you're going to struggle. And then, in terms of equipment, I do run the Advanced Loader, Optics, and the Camo Net. Camo Net to be able to get that filthy 168 meters of still concealment. That is absolutely incredible concealment on this vehicle. With the Optics, to be able to get the 486 meters of view range, so I can outspot people at good ranges, and I can shoot them with impunity until they get within the point where they can spot me. And it helps me to get more damage in that regard as well. And then the Advanced Loader to make the best out of the DPM. And like I said, there's plenty of ways you could run it. If you wanted to forego the optics, you could run the traction system, and the way I'd do that, I would run the traction system instead of that if you wanted to, so that you get 55 km/h top speed, but not just that, it's that 10% chassis and hull rotation speed, so that it does turn faster as well. You could also run vents instead of optics to give you that extra boost in terms of your view range, but also the DPM and everything else about the tank. It's really down to you and how you want to play the tank, how you feel comfortable with it. I just like making everything about the camo better, and then being able to spot at greater distances so I can shoot for longer before I get spotted. And that's just the way I like to set up the tank. So let's have a quick look at the statistics of the vehicle now it's fully kitted out. And as you can see, we've got slightly better ground resistances. We've not helped the track traverse, although it would be nice to help it out, to be fair. 168 meters of still concealment is absolutely amazing. With 195 meters of on-the-move concealment means you can get some aggressive bushes very, very quickly. You can play this thing like a scout at times as well, by the way, by getting into an aggressive scouting bush and then just sitting there. Because you've got a decent view range, not the best, but decent view range, and absolutely unbelievable camo, it's quite difficult to dig you out and spot you. So if you wanted to be a meme lord and just not fire your gun, you could do that quite easily, like going to the prop bushes and spotting for your team, that sort of thing. But you are a tank destroyer, so you're designed to, well, destroy tanks. You've got the better accuracy drawing, movement, and rotation, but again, we've not really helped it that much. And then when you're in the siege mode, it's incredible. You've got the 7.07 second reload, which is 3,562 DPM, which obviously gets better as well when you boost with food. So the DPM on this vehicle is pretty nice at tier 9 for that 420 alpha. And yeah, it's the Gungnir. Like I say, in terms of statistics for being a sneaky sniper, it's a pretty damn good tank for it. It's just that the playstyle is very, very campy. You have to go find the right spot, and then you'll have a good time with it. But it's pretty frustrating at times to find the right spot, and depending on the map rotation, because the tank is very, very map dependent, it can be just royal pain. And that's why I say it's quite expensive for that, especially when you could just go get the STRV 103 and the tech tree, have the same experience, and not have to pay a lot of gold for it. You know, it's one of those things, really, for this tank. But don't really take my word for it, because if you've played the Swedish TDs and you love the Swedish TDs, you'll probably enjoy this vehicle. I just don't like it. I just don't like the gameplay whatsoever. It is what it is. So as always, everybody, what I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not, realistically. So I'll see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Gungnir, and this first replay is really on a map that's not the best for the vehicle, as there's not loads of places you can go with a sneaky TD. Now, we could go to the position at B1 and shoot down the 1 line, but it's quite easy to get trapped there. So what we could do is also go to a position at A3 and then just shoot straight down the 3 line, as people do like to just YOLO up that way as well. So as you can see with the top speed of the vehicle, I know we're destroying some destructible cover, but you do sort of get there towards that 50 kilometers an hour top speed as long as you're not bumping into things. That's because you only have 340 horsepower engine. It's not the most powerful horsepower engine in the universe, which means that any sort of destructible cover and stuff like that, you tend to hit, and it really does slow you down. So as you can see, we've finally got to the position that we want to be in. I'm going to try and get into a position to shoot this Panzer 7 if I can. So we set up, press left on the D-pad, get that siege mode in, and as you can see, the gun handling, the aim time is massive. We put a shot straight into that Panzer 7, and he blind fires us instantly. Like, absolutely instantly. But this is the gun. It is a fantastic gun. We've got 290 penetration, which is amazing, and we had no problem getting that Panzer 7's turret penned nearly every time. So we're trying to back up into a position where we can get a shot towards where that T-58 heavy is, but as you can see, it is very slow to reverse and go forward in the siege mode. It only has that 10 kilometers an hour top speed. I assume that if you put the traction system on, it will increase your speed inside this siege mode, but since it is percentage based, as opposed to PC's turbo, right, where PC's turbo gives you a flat buff to top speed, depending on what kind of class you are, percentage buff means you only gain 1 kilometer an hour. So if you run the traction system, you'll only go at 11 kilometers an hour as opposed to 10. So it's, yeah, you won't feel that any benefit from it really. But you've seen the gun again, straight through the turret of that Panzer 7. We noticed the MBTB and the Canonier Panzer 3 GST term. I cannot stay in this position. I can't go fight that corner and help that heavy tank out against those 2 tanks. I just can't do it, because the Gungnir will just get wiped out instantly if you play too aggressively. So I need to fall back, wait for people to be able to spot them, and then be in a better position myself to be able to shoot them. So we're going to go set up next to this rock, or rubble pile I should say really, where I can get in the siege mode and then sit and wait for them to drive around this corner and shoot them. And that's my hope, that the WZ-111 GFT actually lets them drive round. And in fact, it does. So we get a shot towards the Canonier Panzer 3 GST term, and sadly, the shot actually went a little bit to the left and tracked him only. Poor shot there on him, though, as we ricochet off his side. That was never going to go in. Heat round from the MBTB, naturally, 120mm gun. He will actually struggle to pen me with AP, because he'll ricochet off our upper plate. If he hits the lower plate, he will pen us. But firing heat, he will pen us absolutely everywhere. And I'm really thinking about running away. But the fact is, these guys are pushing quite aggressively against this TD. So I need to take the opportunity wherever I can to get shots in. And as you can see, these guys are 300 meters away, and they could not spot me until I fired. So we are going to take an advantage where we can to get shots into these guys. So we put a shot into the drive wheel there of the GST term. But now the MBTB and GST term are coming straight towards us, and our team is starting to collapse. So I'm thinking, okay, where's my next fallback location? Where's the next position I want to be in to shoot them as they come round the corner? So that's what we need to do, because we're always on the defensive. That's what this tank is. It is always on the defensive. So we get spotted on the cross by the MBTB. I'm trying to get to a better position where I can think of getting shots in. I swivel round so that my gun's already pointing in the right direction, but I can use the good 45 kilometer an hour top speed of the reverse speed, I should say, to get away. Sadly for me, the M53-55 dies in the worst place, but we get the tracking shot into the Canonier Jagdpanzer GST term. With 290 pen, I should be able to go through his turret front, which I just need to be able to aim at if we can get around the awkward siege mode. We retrack him in place, which is what I wanted to do, so that I could get the easier shot here into this guy's turret front, which we get him for 381, as he is chasing down my Technodrome, waiting for him to drive out in front of the position where we can shoot him, and there we go, we finish him off. The MBTB gets finished off by the Technodrome, but there's only 3 tanks left on our team, as the Technodrome also gets shut down. We're at 2.9k damage, 682 assistance, And, well, we're just screwed. There is no winning this. So we're just going to settle ready to shoot whatever comes around the corner. Mr. T-58 is the first victim. Wait to see what drives around that corner again. It's a Panzer 7, and we choose the wrong place to shoot on that guy. Thankfully, he misses us. We're going to set up to see if we can get the shot in before we get finished off. We do get the shot into the lower plate of the Gungnir there, showing the can pen the lower plate of that with the 120mm gun. But we also get finished off by that Gungnir, and we end up with the defeat, which is a sad time, with 3.5k damage and 2 kills. And then the 756 base XP on a loss. And that just showed the awkwardness there for the Gungnir, to be honest. And especially when you get a map like that, where there's not many places you can actually go to be effective. You've just got to set up on a line and hope that your team holds, and you can start to help them by farming. But I can't go to the heavy tank flank on Berlin, because we just die quite quickly if they decide to focus us down. There's no real bush locations for us to truly, on our spawn anyway, go and sit up without getting wrecked. And when you're fighting in that little close quarter zone, using the siege mode is extremely awkward to use because of the way that you have to have the tank pointing in the right direction to get the gun in. It's not got a turret, right? So the whole experience is just that little bit awkward, and you're always on defensive, which is something that I just don't particularly enjoy at all. I prefer being able to go, okay, I really need to go spot at this point, or I really need to go pressure these guys to win the game. I can't do that. You can't do that in the Gungnir. It's just, yeah, it's not what it is. You can do that in something like the STRV-103B, because that has the ability to auto-bounce up to 122mm caliber guns, and you've got the heat shield as well, which saves you quite a lot too. But, yeah, not in any of the lower Swedish TDs. So, we're on the second replay, and the second one we are on this map, which is Fisherman's Bay. And on Fisherman's Bay, we've set up here at F6, which is a very aggressive location to take, because if anyone was at the F6 position in front of us, behind this building, they would spot us quite easily, and yeah, we'll probably get eviscerated by the TDs at the back. But it's also the perfect location for the Gungnir, because we've got a lot of bushes, we have decent enough view range to be able to spot the guys over there. We've got a good DPM with a great gun, which means we can keep snapping shots in left, right, and centre. And they are really going to struggle to actually spot us unless they are point blank, which is glorious. So we're looking for the shot into that IS-3 turret. And now he is a stock turret, but we see the 705A crossing the open. So we put a shot through the 705A side, looking for that drive wheel. But sadly for me, he actually just gets behind the building as we reload, which is just bad timing, but there we go. The IS-3 turret is stock, which means we can pen that slightly in the side if he turns it, which is what he's done. And with 290 penetration, we can go through that guy pretty easily as well, because the penetration is absolutely insane. And at 500 meters, or at this kind of distance, we do have around the 276 penetration mark as well, with the penetration drop off over distance. So it's still got pretty damn good penetration even at this distance. So we're just looking for that superstructure shot into the Jagdtiger, but the Jagdtiger ends up getting unspotted. E4 is just below the ridgeline, and like I say, this is the perfect location, perfect place, perfect kind of game for the Gungnir, because we can just set up in a bush location. We're not being pressured, and our team is spotting for us. So we've just got to play the patience game of sitting and waiting for the enemy team to get spotted in a position where we can actually shoot them, and then we can help our team win the game by just assisting like we are supposed to, because it's a support, it's a defensive support tank, right? So the 705A gets shut down by the 279E. We've got shots into the side of the E4 turret, which is what we've been waiting for. Also got shots into the side of the Jagdtiger. Really hoping I can track and pen this guy, but he ends up pulling back to a position where I can't quite see his drive wheel, but we do get the shot into the side of him. And this is the patience game. We can't do anything else to put any pressure up. We've just got to wait for the enemy vehicles to make mistakes to get shots. Sadly, we aim a little bit too low to get the shot into the Jagdtiger's superstructure there, but the Jagdtiger gets shut down by the E6, meaning there's only the E4 really left on that flank, and we have very slim shots, but this gun is also an incredible sniper. So if we aim correctly, which that guy Neo does there, he baited us into missing that shot. If we aim correctly, we will be able to get the shot. As you can see, straight through, 554, high roll, we'll take the high roll, 554 into that E4 to finish him off, and that was a very slim pixel shot. It's what the Gungnir does. It's what the Swedish TDs do. Their guns are absolutely phenomenal, and they will hit those shots quite easily. But yeah, it's just you pay the price for that in the awkwardness of having to be in the siege mode and all that good stuff. So we're going to go put pressure on this T-62A, where we can hopefully get over this little ridge and shoot him. There might be tank destroyers in that corner, and with my kind of camo, they will struggle to spot me, but I might still spot them. So we activate the siege mode, because you have to be in the siege mode to be able to get shots into people. If you're trying to fire this gun outside of the siege mode, it's just never going to work. And also, it's quite awkward to aim this tank when you're trying to move as well, because naturally, the whole suspension turns to get the gun on target. So if you decide to move forward a little bit, it's probably going to knock your gun off kilter when trying to be able to shoot them. So we're up to 4.3k damage with that 629 assistance. I'm trying to get up high on this ridge so I can try and get some shots into this Ho-Ri 2. We get the siege mode in, tried to get the shot into the Ho-Ri 2, but we ended up hitting the dirt, and I decided to get straight out of the siege mode to get after this M5355, and hopefully we should be in a position to shoot the Ho-Ri as well. So we RBRT onto the M5355. We're hoping to get a shot there into the Ho-Ri 2, but he got shut down by the HWK-12, and that was the end of the game for us. And we finished with the victory, 2 kills, 4.5k damage, 629 assistance damage, the second class, the Confederate, with the Pascucci's medal, and that 1531 base XP. A pretty decent game there for the Gungnir on Fisherman's Bay, and what was a pretty perfect scenario for it to be able to do that role. The first replay really was the awkward nature of it when it's really not in the kind of game it wants to be in. But that was more of the opposite of that, where you do get that game, but you still get the awkwardness of the tank, because that end game there, at any point, if we're trying to get that last little bits of damage that's knocking around to try and, you know, bump up our game and make it better, we're still struggling because we have to get into the siege mode. It takes us 1.3 seconds to get into that siege mode, whereas every other tank just comes in, RBRTs, and automatically gets the damage because they don't have to do that, which, again, it just adds to the awkwardness of this tank. So we're on to this third replay, and this third replay here is on Live Oaks. Bad shot there on the Batchat 12T. We aimed a little bit too high, and thus we actually missed it, which, yeah, sad time, we should have just aimed better. But we do have shots into this IS Desmond Tutu. So we get a shot into his side, and this is, again, the perfect location for our Gungnir, as we have great shots into the side of their team as they cross. I was really hoping that the Vanguard, or is it an ELC even 90, whichever one version of it is, would sit in the bush, because what you want to be doing as a light tank on this map, and what a good place to go is the bushes next to the house on my left. So you can see the little red house there. You want to go sit in those bushes there in a light tank. You won't get spotted very easily unless a light tank YOLOs you, and you can go sit in those bushes and spot any of their campers that sit at E2 really easily. And you also spot the cross, the one-line cross. So for people who are being those campy TDs like I am here, you can get easy shots at people like that 705, as long as the gun behaves. Because while this gun is fabulous, RNG is still a thing. And RNG still likes to go, no, and miss shots, right? And you saw that on the 705. We had a pretty decent shot into his side, and we hit the ridgeline instead, which... it's just what happens. It's RNG, right? It's an RNG-based game. That kind of thing can happen. So I'm watching the town. Now, if I was in any other kind of tank destroyer where I had a turret, I didn't have the awkwardness of siege mode, I'd be thinking, right, I'm going to go get stuck into the town and go and try and win that battle. We can't do that in the Gungnir, because, again, the moment a tank sees me and decides, yeah, you're going to die, I just can't defend myself too easily against that. But I was going to go to the opposite flank. I was going to go to the position around J7, so I could try and shoot the tanks that were spotted along the K line. But also then I could try and shoot the people that are still camping on that little ridge where the Shubblubblubblub TVP is that's being lit up by this Vanguard. But because of my camo, I can actually sit in the swamp quite easily and just not get spotted by these guys, as long as this Vanguard's lighting them up. So I'm just keeping my eye on everything that's going off everywhere. I'm going to try and get shots where I can as they get lit up. But I really want to get towards the train tracks on my left so that we can get into a position where I can quite easily get safe. But there's the Waffle E100. He got spotted by that Vanguard, but the Vanguard also ultimately ended up getting shut down. But that meant we could get 2 nice shots into him, and they have, again, absolutely no hope of seeing us. There's a Batchat 25T that's got around, and this is where the traverse of the tracks can be a bit ooh at times. The Batchat doesn't see us. He's crossing the open. He's 280 meters away. 280 meters away, and we managed to fire, take his tank's life, and he never even sniffed us. IS Desmond Tutu, 300 meters away. There's enough concealment and foliage around. Can't even see us. Again, the IS Desmond Tutu is a lot more blind than a bat chat, but you're getting the point. This tank is very difficult to spot. Very, very difficult to spot, which is an absolute asset and why we've taken every camo perk under the sun alongside camouflage, the camo net, to make sure that we have that ability in the Gungnir so that we're not getting spotted. Because the moment we get spotted, you see exactly what happened in the game on Berlin. That we got spotted and instantly snapped and penned easily, and every tank did that, right? Whereas if you stay unspotted for as long as possible, you can farm up for as long as possible. So we've won the K-line, but we've lost the town. But it is an assault battle, which means we have to take the cap or kill everyone. So what we're going to do is go and shoot the people as they cross the AB line. Now, we're not worried about them capping, naturally, because there is nothing to cap. But from here, as long as they're getting spotted up, we should be able to shoot the enemy team. If they drive outside while them, that would be great. So I'm just giving myself a bit of a bigger distance between me and where that mill is. So if they do drive around the corner or drive out sideways on, etc., I should be able to fire at them without getting spotted. Like so. But sadly, the shell went high, and we hit the one spot on the Highlander that I can't pen. Second shot goes into his tracks, which tracks him in place, but he instantly repairs it. Really looking for that lower plate shot, which the shot goes underneath the Highlander. And I'm sitting there going, RNG, why do you laugh at me? But thankfully, he turned enough of his side armor there that meant I could hit him and pen him. The AMX-65T gets unspotted. We try and lead it across the distance, but I think he must have just stopped moving, so we end up missing it. We see there's heavy tanks in the middle, though. And I was going to go try and get the heavy tank that was spotted at F3, but couldn't believe my luck when this 705 was spotted, except for my luck died when we hit the turret front of the 705. We finish off the 705 with the shot into the side. There's the 65T up again. Come on, DPM, so I can finish him off, please. But we end up hitting what I assume was the house as he just got behind it, so we end up missing the shot. And we're going to move slowly forward. Why are we not leaving the siege mode? Because I should be able to see whatever that heavy tank is that's near that BZ-75, if it gets spotted, as long as I move forward that little bit further, so it's within render range. And we're at the point where it is 5-4 to their team currently, so it's very, very awkward. I can't push the tempo, being in this tank, so I have to sit and wait for my team to spot for me. So the T10 gets spotted. And while that T10 spotted, we're going to help this BZ-75 out as much as possible. So we get 2 shots into him, we've tracked him in place. Hopefully we get to finish this T10 off before he gets away. And there we go, we finished off that Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank with the 3rd shot. And we're up to 4 kills with 4.5k damage. There's only 4 tanks left on the enemy team, and I'm just waiting to see if that 65T will get spotted up. But currently, they get spotted over at A6. Now, I'm not going to get any shots at that guy, so what I'm going to do instead is move up and try and get behind where this BZ-75 is so I can shoot the TDs that are currently lit up in front of him. But he gets attacked by a TVP. So, okay then, we put a shot in for 504, by the way. That's a tasty roll. We'll take it. And then we finish him off. Good night, Mr. Czech Tier 8 Premium TD, helping our BZ-75 out where we can. Now we move out the siege mode, we're going to go pressure that TD, which I'm assuming is the SU-122-54, but who knows what it is, as there's also a Waffly 100, which also could be the tank that was running away from the K-line, and he could also be there. I don't know. But we are assaulting, so we are running out of time. So the only real place I can think they're going to be is that TD that was spotted at E2, or they might be hiding in the corner at A1. Because as it is assault, most people know that if they are the defending team, if they survive, they win. Doesn't matter. So when it gets to this sort of situation where their team has crumbled, people will go and hide in a crevice somewhere, and then stay hidden and win the game in that regard. So we're just going to go balls to the walls aggressive now, because what else can we do? We may as well just sacrifice our hit points and try and get some damage in and finish this game off with the victory. So we're going to come over this ridgeline here where we last knew the TD was. As soon as we get anywhere near the summit of this little hill, we're going to switch into this siege mode. Why? Because again, if we're outside the siege mode, we're not going to be able to do any damage, and if we spot the enemy tank, and then have to switch into the siege mode, we also give them 1.3 seconds to be able to get some easy shots into us. So we're just going to crest the little hill here, and there we find the Waffle E100, and we finish him off. But we're not detected. Now, the guy did ping G1, and I was thinking, is he in G1? But I'm not detected. I thought he would have popped over to shoot me by now. But we're going to go clear that little dip and see if they are or not. We're at the point where we can't actually cap anymore. We need 3 in the cap at this point to be able to win it. And we don't find them. So I assume, okay, they must be in the town, camping in A1 or somewhere around there, hiding in the corner. Because I would have spotted them if they were in that dip, and I thought I might have spotted them at K1 or my TD that's come out of the J3 position. I thought 100% they'd spot them as well. And nothing's been lit up, so we're going to go push to A1. Now, spoiler alert, we're not going to find the SU-122-54, and that tank also has fantastic camo. And do you know what's happened? And I watched it back on the replay of the server, well, you know, the replay of the game. As I hit G1, they hit J1. So I was 200 meters away from them. I didn't see them. My TD coming out of J2, J3 never saw them either, and they went and hid behind the house at K2 and stayed safe. So we lost the game. It was that close. That close. Absolute insanity, really. And we finished the game with 6 kills, 5.3k damage, 540 assistance, the top gun, second class, with that 1159 base XP. That was a pretty good game for the Gungnir there, and it showed off exactly how it wants to play. But yeah, it was just mental. That was one of those games where you sit there going, no way, when you watch it back. I couldn't believe it. I should have recorded it and showed you exactly what happened or how close it was, but I didn't think to do that at the time like an idiot. But it was just that close that it's absolutely insanity, to be fair. And I was fully shocked when I watched it, because that SU-122-54 also did pass within 200 meters of the other TD as well. And the other TD didn't even see him as he crossed past him. Mental, but there we go. So, we're up to the last game of this video. Armour on Westfield, which arguably is the perfect map for the tank, same as it would be Malinovka or Prokhorovka. Lots of bushes, lots of open space, lots of good snipey points. And on Westfield, we are going to be a scout. We're going to be scout TD. But I know that if I use the bushes correctly, they are really going to struggle to spot me. And I'm going to be able to use the bushes, spot for my team, and then also get quite a bit of lovely damage. Because, like I say, Westfield is the perfect map for showing off this vehicle. So we're going to boost our view range with food. We've spotted the WZ-132A, and I am going to push to an aggressive bush. But we find a Tiger 2. Hello, Mr. Tiger 2. He, at 400 meters, is never going to see us, and typical as we bounce off his upper plate. Of course, it found the upper plate, because I'm trying to track and pen this guy. So we finally get a shot in. He gets unspotted, though. So, in fact, I'm going to pull forward into a position where maybe I can see him myself. We're going to go for that side plate, and there we go. We finish him off. Now, I was kind of expecting maybe to get spotted by the WZ-132A if that happened, but even then, he still will struggle to spot me, because, again, the camo on this vehicle is absolutely insane. We're way better than a Turan, even, in terms of our concealment, which, as most people will know, is fantastic for World War II. So we spotted the Type 5. The WZ-132A gets spotted up on top as well, but we're actually spotting the guys here, the 4005 and the TNH. I snap the shot in towards the TNH lower plate, and we ricochet because it hits his upper plate. We had pretty much the whole lower plate, and we still hit the upper plate. Yeah, sad times. But we move back into a position where we can't be shot by the Type 5 or the TD or the heavy tank that's up there, so we can try and see if we can get a shot into the WZ-132A. Because once this 132A is gone, I will be able to move up and push to G5 and not be shot in the back. Now, we made a mistake in trying to RBRT the WZ-132A. We should have aimed it properly. Because he was moving backwards, doesn't matter how accurate we were, the shot still landed in front of him. We should have just used our proper aim and got him, but there we go. So we're outside the siege mode now. We were spotting that Shashka and other TD. We also possibly have shots at the Type 5 Heavy, but it's not quite happening. We are spotting the guys above us. So I'm very much hoping that my team shoots them and gives me assistance. But that shot into the 4005 makes me go, okay, I'm not particularly getting assistance damage right now. So you know what? I'm going to move up higher on this ridge line so I can spot these guys quite easily. You can see I'm keeping them so that they are not within my spotting range or my, you know, my spotted circle, because the little circle on the map that you see there where the dotted lines are is how close they need to be able to see me most of the time. And I was keeping them outside of that range, but now we're going to move into a better position where we can shoot this Type 5 heavy. So we're just waiting for the Type 5 to possibly give us a better shot. I'm like, come on, Mr. Type 5, do it. There we go. He puts his ass just out, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And we bounce off his backhand. I knew that was a very slim chance that that would pen. Kind of wish I hadn't fired that now, because he might have backed up into a better position for me to be able to shoot, but there we go. There's a T-44 in the distance, so we switch into our siege mode. Not too fussed about the guys on my left, because number one, I'm lighting them up, and number two, they're not bothered to look at me right now. So, you know what, we're not going to disturb them while they're making a mistake and not looking at me. Now they've dropped into the dip, they're not going to be able to get shots at me, and so I'm going to use my gun depression and siege mode to be able to get shots that they wouldn't expect. So we dip down, get RBRT shot into the Roswell. Our Chow crushes the Shashka. Just keeping my eye on the right-hand side again, because I don't want to take any unnecessary shots. We're not going to get anything else into the Roswell or the 4005, so we're going to get into our siege mode and sit in a position where we're ready to shoot the Type 5. But in fact, we find an E100. We get a shot into the drive wheel of the E100, which tracked and penned him, but he gets himself safe. We get a shot into the back end of the Type 5 as he pulls back round the corner. And until that detector goes off, I am not even going to move. But we get unspotted. We go for the shot into the cupola of the Type 5 Heavy. And again, while we're not detected currently, I'm not even going to move. I'm just going to stay here farming away. As soon as the little exclamation mark detected thing goes off, that's when I will pull back and get myself safe. So we put a shot into the side of the Type 5. That guy doesn't see us. Because of the tree that he went past, he never saw us. That's how good the camo is on this tank. Unfortunately for me, though, he ended up spotting us, and we low-rolled, so we didn't get the kill on that Type 5. But we are spotting the Waffle Panzer IV and this E100. We go for the shot into the side of this turret of the E100, which I thought I might get with 290 pen, but sadly the angle was a little bit too much and we ricocheted. But I'm not going to move from this position. I'm just going to stay in this position and wait for them to possibly give me a shot, because it's going to be... I might have the opportunity to shoot them again, and I might waste the opportunity to shoot either this Waffle Panzer IV or this E100 if they get spotted, if I was to move, and then have to wait for my siege mode to activate to be able to even get shots. We've got 4,700 assistance so far, 3.3, nearly 3.4k damage. We missed the shot on the Waffle Panzer IV, but we end the game with a pretty damn nice total there for the Gungnir on Westfield, and we finished with the victory. The 2 kills, 3.3, nearly 3.4k damage, 4.7k assistance, nearly 8k combined. Pretty nice game there for the Gungnir on Westfield, and what is a pretty good tank destroyer. It's a pretty good snippety sniper, sneaky tank destroyer, but it's really not my kind of thing whatsoever. I really don't like the tank, and I really don't think it's worth that much gold as well, since you can get the same experience from the tech tree variant that you can grind for free. And you can use have the same awkwardness from the tech tree variant as opposed to playing 10, 11, 12, 13k gold for this vehicle, right? It's one of those things. Down to your preference, though. I don't like the vehicle. Don't listen to me on that regard. As, you know, I won't be buying it, but there we go. So, as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!